Why is mold a problem? And what have you seen in your clients?
It's seen as an aesthetic issue when it's really a toxicity issue.
All of us tested positive for certain mycotoxins.
It's not a matter of if it's going to affect a person's health. It's a matter of when.
What are some of the things that you support them with healing?
So I have a 5-step process or strategy that I use.
Hello, Brave Table fam. Welcome to another episode of The Brave Table. I'm your host, Dr. Neeta, and this is your destination, your oasis to be all things just a little bit more brave in your actions, in your relationships, and in your life. And today, friends, we are braving mold. I don't know if you know this, but mold has affected thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people. And I don't know if I've shared this with you all, but I was going through my own health journey last year where my family and we had been exposed to mold and parasites. And I've brought the leading expert, somebody that I have met. You know how sometimes you just meet people in that season and era of life that you're just supposed to meet? Well, I met her in a different country altogether. I met her in Spain at an event, and we literally just started talking about how much we are both geeked about health and wellness and well-being. And we both are mamas. She's a mama of 4, I'm a mama of 2, and all things mold. And when you are into your late 30s and early 40s, mold can affect a lot of things, especially your health, your gut, your thyroid, your fatigue, your motivation, your family, and so much more. But not only that, she is a leading health expert with over 25 years of experience across Canada, the US, and the UAE. She's a mother of 4, a certified functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and a functional medicine coach. She also holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering, I know, and a master's degree in exercise science. And her hope is to bridge the gap between technology and wellness. Now, she's founder of the Be Better holistic membership platform that provides reliable natural health solutions for everyone. And in this episode today, we dive into all things health and what to look out for in your home, what endocrine disruptors are, how to suspect if you have mold, if you've just moved into a house, in your car, where are the least places that you will expect to find this hidden mystery gem that causes a lot of havoc in your family. You're going to come out of this just knowing so much knowledge and perhaps maybe braving your health in a different way, and the tips and tools that you can take to arm your family with the things they need to optimize their health for even better longevity, connection, and of course, vitality, because that's what we all want. So buckle up, because this is going to be a fun one, and probably want to save this or send this to somebody else in your friend group, mom's group. Well, let's get started with Bernadette Abraham on the Brave Table this week. Bernadette, hello, love.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's get into it, because you have been my saving grace and almost like my little secret ninja healer, and you are not a healer. So can you just tell us, how have you become somebody who is so well known in the world for, I think ultimate health hacks and really just optimizing our full body wellness? And I know that I've been going through health challenges this past year. And when I, bumped into you, I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me all about it. So where did your journey begin with all this?
Well, I guess I'm very curious in nature, and I love to learn, and I call myself a forever student, and I feel like I'm still learning, I'm still studying, and I feel humbled. You get to a point where you think you're the expert in a subject, and then you continue to learn, and then you get humbled, and you're like, wow, I really know nothing,
When's your birthday?
October 6th.
Oh.
I'm a Libra.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a lot of Libras in my life.
Yeah.
But what's your rising and moon?
I forgot.
Okay. I'll have to ask you that.
I should know it. I took the astrology course too.
It'll come.
Okay. So, my story, my love and passion for helping people actually is really the driving force behind my curiosity. Because I get to a point with some clients and they're like, they can't get well. And I'm like, something's underlying. There's something there. And that's what continuously gets me to learn and educate myself and dive deeper into why, right?
Mhm.
Getting to the root cause of what might be at play. And so just life experience. I'm a mom of 4. You encounter a lot of things in life and it just builds. So I started out actually as an athlete. I was a competitive athlete. I was a gymnast.
No
I did
way.
track and field. And then I coached all of these disciplines as well. So the coach in me kind of really began early on. And then when it came time for university, anyone with a passion for health and fitness, you'd think that I would go and study something in health, but I did computer engineering.
No way.
Yeah, complete 180. And even throughout university, I was still teaching, coaching people, doing kickboxing classes to university students, helping people stay healthy. It was always my love and my passion. And it wasn't until I graduated, worked as an engineer for 2 years and retired after that, when I had my son, that I decided, okay, it's time to pursue my education in something that I love. And so that's when I went and I did my master's in exercise science and health promotion. I became a personal trainer. And that's where I really started to work very closely with people. So I would go into their homes. I would see what's in their fridge, what's in their cabinets. We weren't just exercising. I would literally go into their homes and help transform their whole home health. Because at the end of the day, what you buy at the supermarket and bring home is what you're going to consume. And that at the end of the day is what we're made up of. So it was very important to get not only their body physically well, but also get their home. And I started developing just this intuitive sense of what might be wrong in a person's home, where I'm sitting with a client, for example, and then there's this like air freshener spray that's going on, where if I didn't meet with that person face to face, I wouldn't have known that they have that in their home. They
Wait, air
know.
fresheners are not good?
No, total endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, endocrine disruptors are these synthetic chemicals that mimic estrogen in our body. They take up receptor space in our body and it can disrupt hormone balance. And this can affect everyone, not just women, but men, women, and children. And there are a lot of endocrine disrupting chemicals. And so by working with people closely, I developed that sense of what in the home may need to be changed based on their symptoms. And then I pursued functional nutritional therapy to really get deeper into what are the foundations of health with digestion and blood sugar regulation and mineral balance and fatty acid balance and all these things that are really foundational. And if you have any issues in any of these areas, you're going to get consequences, which are symptoms. The body starts to talk to you, right? You might start getting headaches. You might start getting palpitations. You might start getting weird rashes. Well, where's all that coming from? We have to look at the foundations of a house. There's a crack in the foundation. You're going to get a crack in the roof eventually. Those are the consequences. And then I pursued my education also in the name of trying to help clients. And I pursued functional medicine, which is what I practice today. And even with that, there were a subset of clients where, they were getting good results. They were getting well, but there was always something hindering them from truly getting well. And that's when I dove into the world of mold and became mold literate as well. And again, that pursuit of wanting to help clients, to help them achieve wellness, just allowed me to dive deeper into various topics. So I would say it's kind of like experience, working with clients, personal experiences as well, that kind of led me to this point.
So there's so many trajectories that I want to take you through, but because you just dropped mold. Now, why is mold a problem? And what have you seen in your clients?
The problem with mold is that in terms of society, is it's seen as an aesthetic issue when it's really a toxicity issue. And it really needs to be taken seriously because it's not a matter of if it's going to affect a person's health. It's a matter of when. So the biggest problem with mold is you can have a family living in a home where there could be mold at play, mold and mycotoxins, and only one family member starts to exhibit symptoms. And so that person is like, everybody looks at that person going, no, it can't be mold because then we'd all be sick, right? But There's genetic susceptibilities. There's 25% of the population that have a gene that doesn't allow them to detoxify from mold properly. And so they are what I call mold canaries.
Oh, that's me.
They sound the alarm bell. And I don't see it as a weakness. I see it as a superpower because they get to alert everyone around them that there's toxicity in their environment, right? So it really is their superpower. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. And there are classic symptoms that I've seen in clients, like telltale signs.
Yeah, what would you say would be like the top 5 signs that we can be looking for?
Yeah, okay. So mold, first of all, as a toxin affects mitochondria, right? Our powerhouse of the cell.
Our energy.
Our energy. So someone has fatigue all the time for no reason, right? Chronic fatigue syndrome or just pain and fatigue. That's usually a big sign.
So more than just like napping in the middle of the day?
Right. Like just constant fatigue. Even if you get a good night's sleep, you just wake up and you're just always tired, dragging yourself, and nothing helps, you know? Mold and mycotoxins are lipophilic, meaning they get stored in fat. What's our fattiest organ in the body? The brain, right? So cognitive issues, brain fog, anxiety, depression, mood-related changes, all of these issues can be
irritability.
Related. Yep, absolutely. Anything that affects the brain, mold loves fat, and the brain is fatty tissue.
Could it also affect your memory?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. That's part of that. Yeah. That's one of the symptoms in the symptom questionnaire that I get clients to fill out. So energy, right? Fatigue, brain fog, frequent urination is another big clue.
Oh,
waking up in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom 2 to 3 times with a full bladder. You're like, I just emptied. And then you stop drinking water in the evenings, you do all these things, but you still wake up to go to the bathroom. That's also a telltale sign. Shortness of breath. It's actually a protective response if you think about it, because if your environment has mold, your body naturally wants to protect you. So you start to shallow breathe. You don't take these deep breaths. And so there can be that type of exertion and going up a flight of stairs, you're winded, or just having shortness of breath because your body is now starting to shallow breathe to protect you from not breathing in mycotoxins, right? So shortness of breath is another one. You said 5, right? So fatigue, brain related, memory issues, urination.
What about like
shortness of breath?
And what about like skin or anything?
Rashes that come and go sporadically is another classic sign. I would say another one is a strong craving for sugar and sweets.
Whoa.
Like unbelievably
Okay.
craving, like to the point where people tell me, Bernadette, I try to cut out sugar. I can't. It's just really hard for me to cut out sugar. Usually there's an overgrowth, right, of yeast, and yeast love sugar. So if you have a really strong craving for carbs and sugar and you have all those other symptoms, think potentially mold. And the best, I would say, classic symptom or sign that mold might be at play is if somebody leaves that environment, they leave their workplace or they leave their car or they leave their home and they go on vacation for some time, and the symptoms just tend to go away. They tend to improve. But then when they come back into the environment, all the symptoms come back. Something's going on in your environment that needs to be checked out.
So what are some of the, because you just said car, now what are some of the places where we wouldn't expect to find mold, and how can we take more ownership and agency to do our due diligence?
I always tell people avoidance is the number one key thing that you have to do to start addressing mold. And so avoidance means, for example, laundry, your laundry dryer.
Oh, yeah.
And your washing machine, the ring around it can get so moldy.
We've seen some like TikTok videos about that.
Yeah.
And then the little, the opening and the back of the
rim,
washer.
exactly.
Yeah.
It can get so moldy. So anywhere where there could be damp moisture, don't close the door. Keep it open, dry the rim, especially the front loading ones. The top loading tend to get less moldy, but the front loading ones tend to get really moldy.
And it has this sort of smell too.
The mildew, right? The mold and mildew. Showers. So when you shower, keep doors open, turn fans on, open windows.
Well, what if you don't have a fan in your bathroom?
Open the door.
Okay.
Yeah, keep the door open and just get into the habit of, if you have a wall that you can wipe, or just wipe down moisture, wipe it down, with a squeegee mop, quickly after the shower, just to reduce that moisture, and open the door in the shower. That's one way. Carpets, wallpaper. If people have these things in their homes, that can really attract a lot of moisture, and you don't see it because it's under carpets, behind wallpaper. So definitely, if it's encouraged for people to just paint instead of using these types of materials, because it can be hidden. And it can trap moisture and can develop mold, because that's all really mold needs, is a comfortable living environment. So whatever's comfortable for us is going to be comfortable for mold. And they need moisture. So anything above 50%, 60% and up, you're getting a problem. So keep it below 50% humidity.
And what could we do to mitigate humidity if we live in like really warm climates?
Dehumidifiers.
So a dehumidifier, not a humidifier.
No.
Okay. What's the difference?
A humidifier is going to make the environment more humid, which is great when your kids are sick. They might have a cough and you want to keep that area moist and less dry. But for the prevention of mold, I always recommend people purchase these little moisture readers. You could buy them online off Amazon.
So what's really it called?
Cheap.
A
hygrometers.
Hygrometer. Okay. Okay.
And you could just put one in every little room and check the moisture of the room. And if it's anything above 50%, get the dehumidifier, roll it into that room, and get that moisture out of that room.
How have you supported people who have had mold? Because I mean, I remember when we had met at an event, and I was actually going through this healing process, and Brave Table Fam, this is probably the first time I'm maybe sharing it, but I think last year when we were traveling quite a bit, we had exposed ourselves to mold in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And then we took a test, a mycotoxin test. And for those of you who are curious, we'll link some of the good ones in the show notes. And I went down the rabbit hole, took the family down the rabbit hole as we do, and all of us tested positive for certain mycotoxins. There's the orchatoxin was a big one, and then there's the aflatoxin. I'm not a mold expert. That's why I brought you on.
Yeah.
But so what have you seen in terms of the toxins when people say, okay, I think I suspect mold? What are like the top 3 protocols that you do to take them in? And then what are some of the things that you support them with healing?
So I have a 5-step kind of process or strategy that I use. And anybody who may need support, I actually built a course, and it's in Be Better. And it breaks down what is mold. It breaks down how to find a mold literate practitioner, how to find mold inspectors.
Because they're not all the same.
They're not all the same.
Okay.
Exactly. And what's very important is if you suspect you have mold, you want to bring in a mold inspector. And you should not, whoever's going to be doing remediation should not be doing the inspection, right? It's a conflict of interest. But sometimes it's not available. Like here, we have a great mold remediator, but we don't have true mold inspectors. So, sometimes you just have to make do with what you have. And so getting in a proper assessment of your home health will then allow you to heal, because as long as you're being exposed to it, it's like trying to fill a sink with the drain open, right? You just can't get the water to rise if the drain is open. Same thing. If you're trying to heal from mold and you're constantly being exposed to mold and mycotoxins from your environment, it just becomes very difficult to get better, to get well. There's a lot of mitigation strategies that you could do while living in mold. If it's not a possibility for you because of finances or for whatever reason, a person can't leave, there are things that you can do to mitigate that. But ultimately, you're not going to get fully well until you're out of that exposure. So avoidance, again, is number 1 strategy.
So avoidance. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what would you say is number 2?
Mold hates sunshine. Get outside as often as possible. Think about our days today, right? Everybody listening, how much time do you spend indoors? How much time do you spend outdoors? Is it a huge ratio, like huge difference? Like, do you spend a lot more time indoors than you do outdoors? Start changing that. It's free. Everybody can do that. So opening your windows, getting outside. Mold hates sunshine, right? So getting outdoors as much as possible is one of those avoidance strategies if somebody is still living in mold and can't get out as much as possible.
Could you supplement with vitamin D, K2?
So yes, that's part of the strategies, because typically people with mold, it affects the receptors where we produce, how we produce vitamin D, and they tend to be low in vitamin D. So it is one of the things that moldies should be supplementing with and have as part of their protocol is vitamin D3 with K2 to help with getting it into the bones and getting calcium into the bones as opposed to calcification outside of bones. You don't want it to calcify joints and tissues and things like that. So K2 is important with the vitamin D.
And for the mamas out there, the parents out there who also are worried about their kids, how do the kids react to mold? Because my kids didn't really have any sort of reaction. I was, like you said, I was the canary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be that they just didn't manifest symptoms at that point, but you might see in children sleep disturbances. So if they wake up, mold also then it creates an environment in the body where you might tend to get parasites. Parasites are more active at night, so it tends to disrupt sleep in people. You might notice them grinding their teeth at night. That can be also a symptom potentially of parasite overgrowths. So with children, though, they bounce back a lot quicker than adults. And it's a lot easier to help kids who are affected by mold because they just naturally they move a lot. And sweating, right? When we think about, if I'm going to talk about the strategy of how I help a person heal, avoidance was number one. Number two is opening up their drainage pathways, making sure that they can go to the bathroom, have a bowel movement, minimum once a day, up to 2 to 3 times per day.
So if they're flushing out their toxins.
Right, through stool.
Okay.
We have all these detox routes. Our body is made to detoxify. We can detoxify, but we want to make sure that they're open and they actually are flowing and eliminating toxins from the body. The skin is our largest organ. And so through sweat, we can release mycotoxins. And so kids naturally play a lot. And so they get sweaty a lot. And so if your kids don't, then I highly encourage let them go outside because mold hates sunshine. Ground, because that's also an anti-inflammatory, meaning without shoes. Let the kids play bare feet. Let them get dirty. That's okay. It's healthy for them. And let them sweat, and if they can't sweat, some people just don't have the ability to sweat. That pathway is blocked. Then you can induce sweating. With children, you could draw up a nice steamy bath. You could put in things like ginger to make it hotter, pau d'arco tea, calendula, which is calming for skin if they have any issues. So there's many ways for kids that you can kind of help support them to sweat.
So ginger in the bath.
Yeah, you can put a 2 tablespoons of ginger.
Interesting.
Put it in a little baggie so it doesn't kind of go all over the water.
Okay. But you could cut up some ginger and just put it in the bath.
Or powder. I would do like 2 tablespoons of powder, put it up in a cloth bag.
Okay.
And put it in the water.
I'm thinking about chai right now. I'm like, okay, chai in the bath. Wow.
Just don't drink it.
Okay. Put some Epsom salts in there.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Extra magnesium for the kiddos. Yeah. And, one of the other things I was saying is the having bowel movements. So supporting bile flow is part of that because the liver produces bile, which is a liquid substance through which toxins flow. So if the body wants to get rid of toxins, we want to make sure that we're producing enough bile and that we're dumping it in, it's flowing properly into the small intestine, and then it gets excreted out as poop, right? So we want to support that pathway as well. Those organs help us detoxify. So with children, bitters, it can be digestive bitters, like just 1 drop on the tongue. And you could even make it fun. You could say, let's see who can't make a face. So you put one on your tongue, you get them to put it on their tongue. Everything, turn it into a game with kids. And, they're more likely to do these things. But bitter foods also introduce it into their diets. Green tea can be for children, something that you give them before a meal, like 20 minutes before a meal, give them some green tea to help get bile flow going.
So this just activates your liver, the liver enzymes.
Exactly, to get bile flowing because that's how you get toxins going out. And fiber is also so important because it's a binder. So that's where we go and we look at diet, making sure they're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables that are rich in fiber. And then you could add things as well, like flax seeds, chia seeds, oat bran, rice bran, psyllium husk.
Sounds like the fiber acts as like a sponge to like soak up all of the toxins.
It's a binder, yeah. So
Okay.
think of it like a magnet, and
Mhm.
it draws it to it and allows you to eliminate it. We don't absorb fiber. We poop it out. So
Mhm.
it helps kind of bind toxins and allows us to eliminate it through stool out of the body. So increasing fiber in kids is also a very helpful way to support their little bodies. And going back to bitters, if they don't like green tea or they don't like anything bitter, because children tend to not like bitter foods,
Sure.
and that helps supports bile flow, then maybe at the end of their meal, you could give them, 2 to 3 good quality, dark bitter chocolate,
Okay.
little morsels
Okay.
to just, again, that'll
So like an
stimulate
80% cacao or something
as
like
high as
that.
possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Super clean as well. No, junky ingredients in there.
Wow, you're giving us a masterclass.
There is a lot, and I don't want people to feel overwhelmed. There's a lot that you can do to support the body. That's what I want to get out there. And even if you just do one thing, which is getting outside, exercising, because we want to move lymph. That's another way that we get toxins out. And sweating,
Mhm.
you're already ahead of the curve.
Okay.
Yeah.
What underrated supplement do you think, if anybody is dealing with mold exposure, and or maybe they're listening to this, watching this, and they're like, okay, I think I have all of these things.
Yeah.
What is that underrated supplement that everyone should be either looking into, checking out? Obviously, they should come and check out Be Better, because I love the membership. You are just so value giving, and you've just dropped so much value here today. But what is that we can take away from today?
So mycotoxins, which is the byproduct that's a gas that mold emits, is something like is weaponized and is used. It's so toxic. It's been used as a biochemical warfare weapon. It's that toxic. This is why I'm telling people it's not an aesthetic issue. It's a toxicity issue. And mycotoxins can deplete our master antioxidant in the body called glutathione. So if nobody's ever heard of that, we produce it internally through various nutrients that we need, like B vitamins and selenium and B6 and things like that. And we can also take it as a supplement. And so people who are mold sick generally have lower glutathione levels because it's being excreted, right? It's being utilized because the body is trying to get rid of these toxins out of the body. So either NAC, N-acetylcysteine, that is the precursor to producing glutathione, or just straight up glutathione.
Okay.
Those are 2 supplements that should be in any person affected by mold in their protocol and in their journey.
Does NAC also help with respiratory issues?
Yeah, NAC and glutathione are very well studied, clinically researched to help with any respiratory type of conditions. So bronchitis and anything with the lungs, pulmonary issues, coughing. It really helps arrest that. It really helps support that.
And should we just buy any brand? How do we know a brand of NAC or glutathione is legit?
Yeah, well, you can look at, we could do a whole show on supplements and how to choose the right supplements. But you could look if they have the GMP certification, the Good Manufacturing Practice certification. Look for the more reputable brands also. And then in Be Better also, we help members get access to practitioner grade supplements so that you're not just buying things off the shelf and going, because it's like a wild, wild west. The supplement industry, anybody can produce.
Well, it's unregulated.
Very unregulated. Yeah. So
you don't really know what percentage of the actual amount is actually in there.
Correct.
So, obviously we are just sharing from our lived experiences, and obviously you help thousands of people in your platform, but do your research as well if you're going
absolutely.
to. Read the reviews and make a decision accordingly. I wanted to jump into, because you've written this is like an encyclopedia book. And I want to jump into, it's Unjunk, How to Raise Healthy Eaters in a Processed World. This is not only a manual, you have also what to look for in your kids' stools. And I never realized this. I learned this from my, the elders on my dad's side, and even my mother-in-law, who every time that she'll, come over, she wants to look at the kids' stools. And I never understood, why is that such an issue? Because, okay, I'm raised in the US, but it's an ancient Ayurvedic practice, and she can tell, and all the other elders can tell, the quality of your health just by looking at your stool. And then here I am.
In a nutrition book.
The color of your stool is really important. Is it really important? Can we talk about that?
It is very important. And I always encourage parents, this book is, I call it a learn to teach book. So I'm teaching the parents, and then I'm teaching them to teach their kids. So there's scripts in there that you can read to the kids so that it's in an easy way that you can explain it to them. And it's very important that your kids also look and report back to you and tell you whether or not they're constipated. So I want kids to understand, the different scoring from 1 to 7, what type is there. And it's a funny conversation with kids, right? You talk poop with kids and they just laugh. They love that talk. So it's a really fun way to get your kids to understand what's going on about their health by looking at their stool and getting them to tell you if something is off. So if it's loose, if it's too hard, small lumps, and it's really hard to pass, or if they don't go, like they should be going every day. And a lot of times parents don't know. They don't realize that until their kids start to complain of aches, gas, bloating, right? And then they start questioning, but get into the habit of getting your kids to tell you when something is off. So show them that diagram, show them the Bristol stool chart, it's called, and just have a fun conversation about this is what it should look like. And if it doesn't, come and let me know, because then there are steps that you can take to help rectify the situation.
I think this is such a brilliant book. And, as of this recording, because even on your, Instagram, you have all of these different ways to swap out some of the crazy oils with the better oils, but also, the amount of preservatives and additives, we've just been kind of schooled at this, if anybody's living in the US, that they've been able to pass that they are going to mitigate that in one of the states. What is your take on that? Why is it? It baffles me when I found out that there are so many more additives and preservatives in food that comes out of the US than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And what is this link between that and also ADHD? Because I know you talk a lot about ADHD as well in the book.
So this is a huge problem, because it is, while it is regulated, it's also regulated by the food manufacturers themselves. So the FDA is supposed to regulate all of these additives, which I believe, if I have the number correct, is close to 14,000 and counting. It's huge number. And so they all say that in a small amount that it's safe for human consumption. But these tests are not done in a cumulative fashion, meaning one additive and another additive and another additive and another additive, especially in a child's body. And so it's the cumulative nature of all these additives that can have potential problems, behavioral issues, attention issues, mood issues in children and also adults. It affects us. And so, if a food manufacturer deems that particular color or food additive or, preservative safe for human consumption, it passes. So it's kind of like conflict of interest. The food manufacturers should not be the ones to deem a certain additive as safe, right? So it's a big problem. And to simplify this, because some people can feel really overwhelmed with reading food labels and not understanding what ingredients mean. So that's number one tip, is if you just don't understand the ingredient terms, then maybe that's something that you shouldn't be consuming.
Well, and the other thing is that, what if your kids go to a birthday party? My kids just went to a birthday party. And even though we don't do sugar at home, we have, honey and we have maple syrup and that's about it. How do you mitigate that? Because of course they're going to go to the birthday party. They're going to want the cake. They're going to want the pizza, that's not gluten-free. That's with all of the things.
Yeah.
How, and I know your book talks a lot about all of this, because then when I remember this vividly, they had a piece of cake and then they were just wired and they turned into, it was, monstrous meltdowns.
Yeah.
And then of course we as parents think, we don't think anything of it. So can we talk about the link of, all of those foods and how it affects
Yeah.
the
So
behavior?
So definitely. And I share also in the book strategies for different situations, because this was my frustration as to why I wrote the book in the first place. Is here I am trying to feed my kids as healthy as possible, as organic as possible, but society is just not helping me. They go to friends' houses, they go to birthday parties, they go to school, they swap lunches, and it just feels like you're alone. And it feels really hard to try and raise healthy kids when society is not supporting us parents. So that was kind of the frustration. I was like, if we can all come together as parents and raise that level of awareness and get us all on board to make these healthier swaps, then it just becomes easier. We're all kind of supporting each other, right? They say it takes a village. And that was kind of like my mission, is let's get this grassroots marketing going, raise that level of awareness, and get us all looking after each other and each other's kids, because it does affect their behavior. It does affect their focus in school. And I have a whole chapter just dedicated to sugar specifically, on all the things that it can affect and all the things that it can deplete. And it's done purposely, that chapter, in a way that either the child can read it or the parent reads it to the child. So they get it. Because other than just saying it's bad for your teeth or it rots your teeth, what else is going on in the body that it can impact? So in terms of waking up tired, not being able to focus in school, why does that happen? In terms of it depleting certain nutrients like magnesium. And so they might start getting headaches, because if you're low in magnesium, lack of magnesium can lead to headaches, because it's a relaxing mineral. So there's so many things that can be affected in the body, and I break it down in easy chunks for parents to also pick and choose. So if you see that your child has a certain symptom, and that explanation will help kind of give that validation as to why, they shouldn't be having that food, then use that, to your benefit. Third-party credibility is really powerful. You could be saying the same thing that I'm sharing in the book, but because it's coming from somebody else, they'll take that information, right?
Of course.
So
Of course. I mean, it's quite comprehensive. This
it
is literally
it's a resource. It's a reference book. It's a resource.
It's insane. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And where can we get the book?
So it's available on Amazon. It's also available here locally at Organic Foods and Cafe and at Virgin Megastore.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Okay. So we're going to transition into our final igniting round.
Okay.
And it's where we ask you some rapid fire questions.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
You ready?
This is really early in the morning.
I know. Well, we're going to go.
Okay, let's try. Let's go.
Okay. Your favorite evening ritual before you go to sleep?
I'm a list person.
Okay. Oh,
So,
you do list.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a list person. So in order for me to fall asleep and really just let go, I need to go, what do I have planned the next day? Write it all out, get everything out of my head, write it all down. I would say I have to do that to be able to then get into bed and then do my meditation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I need
really
to get
good.
it out of my head, write it down.
Great. I feel like your rising could be Capricorn, but
No, it's not.
it's not. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Favorite meal to cook for your 4 kiddos?
These are hard because I have 4 kids. So my favorite meal or the favorite meal for the family?
For the family.
them?
Yep.
Okay. It's hard to say one meal because I meal plan every week. So every Sunday night or Monday morning, I sit there and I do the meal plan for the week. And I always have to make sure that it has 3 things in it.
Okay.
And then I make sure that they like it. So has to have a protein, has to have vegetables, has to have healthy fats first and foremost. And then I add in the starch that they like. So based on that, it could be, for example, a favorite that we just had was salmon. And then we had mashed potatoes, the starch. We had whole sides of vegetables, so steamed broccoli. We had green beans, asparagus.
Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, and
Now I'm
then a
getting hungry.
sprinkle of, sesame seeds for additional healthy fats, something like that.
Cool. I wouldn't have thought about the sesame seeds. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Favorite tea or chai?
You're going to kill me because you're a big chai person.
I am.
I'm a boring water girl.
What?
I am a boring water girl, but I love teas for their therapeutic benefits and I use them a lot with clients and I recommend them based on what they need.
Okay. So you don't have one that you...
For myself personally, I'm a water girl.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
have for different uses, like stinging nettle
Okay.
is
What's
really
that
good for adrenals,
Mm.
adrenal health. Green tea is something for mold. Everybody should be drinking green tea if they're mold affected.
Decaf or the regular green tea?
The regular green tea.
Okay.
Yeah. Very high in antioxidants. I know a lot of people love matcha, which is very high in antioxidants as well.
I'm a matcha girl too.
Mhm.
This is all good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've disappointed you. I'm a boring water girl.
And the question we ask everyone, what does it mean to be brave?
Facing your fears and doing the things that you're uncomfortable doing.
Mm.
And, for me, a lot of times, a lot of people can worry about what others might think, and that can stop you and hold you back. And also in my field, a lot of times you may get to a point where you feel like you don't know enough, you're not good enough. There's somebody else that's more of an expert. But what I do know can help already a lot of people. And by not sharing, that's a disservice. So that's how I see it. And if there's anybody out there listening who has a talent, a skill, something that can help somebody else and be of service of someone else, but you're stopping yourself because of fear of not being good enough, not knowing enough, let that go, because there is always going to be someone you're going to be an expert, even though you may not think you are.
Mm.
So just get out there and do it. When it's scary, that means it's important and you're doing the right thing.
So good. So good. And one word that describes this season of life.
It's the trendy word.
What's that?
Energy.
Oh.
Quantum.
Ooh, let's go into the quantum.
Energy, yeah.
Bernadette Abraham, where can we dig more into your work and your membership? We will link in the show notes.
Sure. So I'm on Instagram, if anybody would like to follow me there, bernadette.abraham. And my website is also bernadetteabraham.com, where you can find out, what I do and the services. I'd also links to Be Better membership as well.
Love the membership. I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned so much from you and the community. So
Yeah.
amazing.
You.
Thank you so much for sitting with us here and braving our health this week on the Brave Table.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so now that we've uncovered the truth about gut health, inflammation, and how your body's resilience is deeply connected to your nervous system with Bernadette Abraham, it makes you wonder if optimizing our internal health is key to longevity. Well, my question for you is, what about the external factors like stress, modern lifestyle, and the mind-body connection? How much control do we actually have over how we feel on a day-to-day basis? That's exactly what we're unpacking next with Dr. Chithi Parikh, an integrative medicine expert who's bridging the gap between Western science and Eastern healing. In this episode, we are going to uncover and explore the powerful ways ancient Ayurvedic principles and rituals and cutting-edge medicine and medical research are actually shaping the future of holistic health. Plus, you'll learn simple yet super transformative practices and healing ways to actually help regulate your nervous system, boost your immunity, boost your physical healing, and reclaim balance in your everyday life. So you don't want to miss out this next episode here. You can go ahead and watch it now.